Cool beans. All right, we are rolling already, so.
You got your coffee?
Yep,
I got my water?
Yep.
And with that, we don't know the show number. Do you?
We do it 24.
24?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. 23 was only 2 weeks ago, so we should know it, but I never know off the top of my head.
Yeah. Let me see how good I can do at an intro here. Welcome to Ohio Wrestlecast number 24. I am Mark Thomas. This is
Jerrod Griffiths, a.k.a. Wilbur Whitlock. How's everybody doing out there in the internet world?
Hopefully great. We got a hell of a fucking show this go around. Hopefully it sounds better. Hopefully it looks better.
I worked out the kinks some last week, but I still thought it was pretty good. It was a good listen. Covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty excited for this week because this one you're going to take the reins a little more so than normal. This is something a little more up your alley.
Kind of just for like the first part of the show or a little segment or whatever. I put a little thing together for people, but I know you had a couple things you wanted to talk about.
You got a full page of notes. It's not a little thing. I'm pretty excited to get into it. So, but yeah, we'll get some. I guess we'll start off with the bad news first. We'll get it out of the way. If you've followed our podcast or if you know me at all in real life, you'll know that without hesitation, if you ask me who my favorite tag team of all time was, it's the Midnight Express. It's just there's no other option.
No, that.
And Bobby Eaton, of course, passed away last Wednesday, I believe at the age of 62, which is rough. And if anybody wants to learn more about Bobby Eaton, before I go into some of my stories, Jim Cornette released his Jim Cornette Experience podcast, and it's only about 2 hours long. And it's an amazing listen. The first part's even tough to get into. He's in tears to start the episode.
Oh wow.
But they mentioned on there that and it's been pretty well known that Bobby Eaton's had some health issues in the last, especially the last 5 years. They said he actually had to have a pacemaker installed. His wife passed away from breast cancer about a month ago.
Oh shit.
And I guess he took a turn. It was about a week ago where he had to go to the hospital, and his kids were moving back home to try to help him with the transition. And then Cornette himself mentioned they spoke to him on the Saturday prior to Wednesday, and he sounded great. They had a great conversation. There's just something just turned for the worst kind of out of nowhere.
Wow. So Cornette talked to him that
recently, and wow. They were actually talking some plans to hopefully get the Midnight Express together again for fan conventions and things like that.
Which was pretty sudden then.
It was pretty sudden, and so Bobby Eaton is. I mentioned that I wrote a nice little write up on Facebook about him. Like, as I'm a kid in the early '90s growing up, when we're right out of like the Hulkamania, but still even then the WWF was so bright and colorful, and Bobby Eaton was just kind of this dude that looked like a Southern wrestler. And so, I seen him in my book with the Midnight Express, and I knew who Jim Cornette was at that point because he's starting to get a lot of heat on WWF TV, but who the Midnights were, I never really knew. And then he was part of the Blue Bloods with Steven Regal and WCW, but even always positioned lower, mid card, sort of guy. So it wasn't until I really got into the business and I want to study as much as I can. And again, also the Midnight Express looked pretty cool. So went back and watched them. Even at 18, 19, I'm like, holy shit, these guys are great. And holy shit, Bobby Eaton is so good. If you go and watch just the way that he bumps and the way that he sells and the way, and then he was doing high risk offense at a time nobody else did. He did a top rope knee drop almost every night.
Oh wow!
His finisher was the Alabama Jam, a top rope leg drop.
At a time when you really weren't jumping off the top rope.
Early '80s, yeah.
That's back when a time when a second rope jump was something.
It was something.
You don't often see that anymore.
He were the athletes, So it wasn't. He was. I guess maybe ahead of his time, even in that regard too. But just an incredible worker, and by all accounts, was even better guy. He's the one guy that not one soul will ever have a bad word to say about him, and he's never. Cornette said he never said a bad word about anybody, even in private. Just easiest, nicest guy to get along with. And this is a kind of a funny story, I only had the pleasure of meeting him once. We were actually on a show in Georgia where he teamed with Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express to take on the Steiner Brothers. This is 2011. So it's kind of cool. Half of the Rock and Roll, half of the Midnight versus the Steiners. Hell yeah. So our locker room, there's the entrance, and then there's only one like kind of side door out. Those are the only two ways out. It's the entrance or this little side door.
Yeah.
And I was finished my match, and I really had to pee, and Bobby was leaning through the door, like kind of halfway out, and he was watching Chris Hamrick's match from ECW. I think he was wrestling Jebediah. So he's kind of like watching, some. I don't want to, be like, excuse me, Bobby Eaton, you got in my way, I got to pay, so I kind of waited patiently, and he's kind of said, he's like, oh, do you need through here, brother? And I said, I do, but, hey, man, like, and I'd already introduced myself as the wrestlers, like, hey, Jerrod, nice to meet you, but.
You had, like, professional
so we did all that already, but I said, yeah, but if you got a second, man, I said, I just want to tell you, the Midnight Express are, without a doubt, my favorite tag team, like, no question, and you revolutionized tag team wrestling, and I'm just a huge fan of your work. And he was like, oh, well, thank you so much, man. That's all. And he started to tell how much he still loves doing these independent shows. He's like, and I love talking to the young guys. It really, it keeps me going to hear you guys talk about it, for my generation and what it means to you. And we're talking, I mean, probably a full like 2-3 minutes and like in both kind of actually peeking out watching the match a little.
Yeah.
And at that point, I've really had to go. So I was like, Bobby, it's so great talking to you, man. Like, I really got to use the bathroom. It's like, well, let me get out of your way, brother. I don't want you to pee yourself. Like,
yeah.
So he goes, and I went to the bathroom and, just said goodbye at the end of the night. But it was one of those things, man. It was really cool. Like, you could tell he was more than willing to make time for you if you wanted to talk to him.
Hell yeah.
And, and I've met other guys like that too, but Bobby just seemed genuinely really happy being in a locker room.
Yeah.
Really happy to have a royal crowd. It was a good crowd for an indie show. It was probably 600-700 fans,
Yeah.
But obviously way lower than what he's performed in at the height of his career, but he was still just having a great time. And so, yeah, I wanted to take a few minutes. And again, if anybody isn't familiar with Bobby or the Midnight Express, highly, highly recommend. I think it's a Great American Bash 1990, Midnight Express versus the Southern Boys. In the first Clash of the Champions from 1988, there's a Fantastics versus Midnight Express match where it's kind of like a Wild Pier 6 brawl. This is 1988, so definitely kind of before the time.
Yeah.
Both matches really, really fun, and you can enjoy the Midnight Express and their whole shtick, and Bobby in particular. And I think if you like those, you could take the time to probably find a lot more.
No.
I think I've been watching 1986 Jim Crockett Promotions, just the television show week by week, where it's mostly enhancement matches, but Cornette is just hilarious. And he's
He always is,
so
man.
obnoxious. And Bobby, I actually took a video and showed the clip where Bobby goes out on the floor, hits a swinging neck breaker on the job guy on the floor, just concrete floor, goes over to Tony Schiavone to try to get a high five, and he wouldn't do it, so he lifted Tony's hand and made him give him a high five. And I'm like, that's fucking great. So there's more charisma to him than I think a lot of people know. So check those two matches out at the very least, and I hope you enjoy, because I know I did. And Bobby Eaton's gone way too soon, man.
No, I agree, sir. I agree, and I'm sure those are great recommendations.
I believe wholeheartedly in their easiest matches to get into of theirs. But so yeah, I wanted to kind of get that out of the way. And I mean, not to talk about it greatly, that being out of the way, but because that's really the only bad news we got. Everything else, man, has been really, really cool. It's going well.
Yeah. No.
We got I wrestled in Beach City, Ohio on July 31st. It was a 2-event show, and this is a really cool show, man. So there was a meadery at the bottom of the hill, and I call it a compound, and it sounds bad, but like it really is. It's kind of off like the beaten path going into Beach City, where we went into the meadery and it was $20, and the $20 got you admissions for both shows, and they were selling the mead there, which our friend John Thomas was there.
Oh, okay.
And he had some of the mead,
Nice.
and I tried it. It was fantastic. It's called McAlpine Meadery, so there's a plug for it because it was very, very
I've
good.
heard of it.
And they had some of their merchandise on sale, but they had live bands within the meadery, and I didn't go in and see them, but you could tell they were all like kind of metal acts.
Yeah.
These dudes are kind of like hippies, but and
Okay.
they're just having a good old time, man. They had a tent down there where it smelled amazing, and the guy didn't eat, but I was like, what do you guys got going on down here? Like, oh man, we got some beef ribs, we got some smoked turkey legs, some mac and cheese, some greens, some beans. I'm like, fuck yeah, like this is awesome. But we had some friends came out to the show, and we kind of just tailgated by the car, drank a couple cold ones, and just kind of had like a party and then 2 wrestling shows in between. So,
Hell yeah, dude.
on the first show, I defeated that dastardly Sean Blaze, and I won the Power Slam Pro Wrestling Ohio Heavyweight Championship in the main event.
Nice.
It was called Meet and Bleed. Now, some pictures I'll share. We took it we took it literal there. There was some bloodshed in that match. I had a busted up head for a little while, but no pain, no gain. And then the main event of show number 2, I teamed up with a buddy of mine, Spotlight Marcus Knight, and we teamed up with Wildfire Tommy Rich, and we won a 6-man tag bout. So,
successful?
Hell of a time, successful night. Got to chum it up with Tommy Rich for a while, man, talking some territory stories. Like, you could tell, again, like, these guys, when they get on the shows, man, they're excited to have guys actually want to talk shop with them.
No, I believe it.
I mean,
that's why takes them back.
That's why me and you are doing this podcast now. We have a common interest and we like to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so when you get, a guy, which I'm not young, but I'm from a completely different generation than he is, just I want to talk territory wrestling. Like, I didn't grow up on that. I went back and watched it, but like, man, there's some really cool stuff from Georgia and the Tennessee territories. And
no, I believe it.
Tommy had a blast talking about, that sort of stuff with us. So it was cool. Really, really fun night, for sure. Very successful night for Power Slam Pro Wrestling. And the entertainment group is called, I think it's Savage MMG. I'm almost positive. And they actually hooked up the production on the show with a sweet entrance. And they,
nice.
They coordinated the lights and stuff with like the colors of what we were wearing. I mean, they were on top of it. They did an amazing job.
They film it or anything?
It was filmed, and I'm not sure when it's going to air yet. I've seen some bootlegs of some of the matches, but I know they have a production team that will probably be putting it together. So when it airs, we'll definitely share the link on our YouTube page.
Maybe we should watch it, do a reaction or something.
I would love to. I had a blast. It was a great show.
Yeah.
That leads me to last piece of business, Stranglehold. We actually released the front row tickets today.
There you go.
There's only 50 available, and that was about 4 hours ago. There's not 50 available more now. I'm guessing there's about 20 or so. They're going. So if this drops and there's still some available, get on it fast.
Get them while you can.
Get them while you can. But we're really excited about it. Got some more confirmations. Some people that were kind of on the fence, we got some confirmations. So we're able to really complete the card. We're 100% on it now, and we also have some surprises in store. Yeah, man, I'm excited. Everything's going very, very smoothly in that regard. So
nice. Where can they get them? How can they get hold of them?
Right now, I just get at me on Facebook, send me with a direct message, or text me if you know me personally. But direct message on Facebook. I have a PayPal account set up just for the show. Okay. So if you need to use my personal Venmo, or if you want to meet up, the weekends are usually free for me, so I can make time to meet up to sell the tickets physically. And again, probably about 20 left that are unclaimed at this point. So
gotcha. Any info you want to, we got the event page pinned on our Ohio Wrestlecast Facebook
on our Wrestlecast page. Yeah, so all your information will be there. We're releasing matches once a week. Some really cool entrants in our Battle Royal. It's coming along great, and the anticipation's high, and I'm excited, man. I'm ready to get there for the 25th because I've been working my ass off.
Oh, I don't doubt that a bit. Yeah.
So let's get started.
We're gonna do something a little different this time. I don't know how well it's gonna go. Don't know if we'll do everything I've written down here, but it's a little different. We're gonna go through. I made a list of movies that feature pro wrestlers. I was going to try to find movies that starred pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
But there weren't that many. So they're either starring them or featuring them. Some of them aren't really that big of appearances, but like I said, this might go a lot quicker than I imagined.
We'll see. I don't know. We got some interesting stuff to talk about. So what inspired you? Because you messaged me saying that you had a really good idea, and I was like, yeah, hit me. And you told me about it. I'm like, no, I do like that. So
what it was is I was talking to a buddy at work about the movie They Live with Roddy Piper, and how I think he would like it because it's real esoteric and like has a good message and shit. And then I just immediately thought of it, and I was like, wow, that's like, we should go through the movies that starred pro wrestlers and then recast them with current WWE wrestlers, or as people that are currently active wrestlers. I would guess.
Right.
And
it's a cool concept.
And I shot it your way, and I was like, yeah, I figured it's something different.
Well,
you know?
and I like, and you know me, I like the history of stuff. So I kind of like to, like, and we can even talk about They Live as a launching point, because I think Piper, what year that came out? Was it like 88?
Oh shit! It was 80s. I know that. I'll look it up.
Yeah, look it up, because I know Piper was a pretty active competitor up to WrestleMania 3. He wrestled Adrian Adonis at WrestleMania 3, and it's supposed to be his retirement match. Piper should have been done in 87, according to between him and Terry Funk in their retirement matches.
Yeah.
But I was pretty sure that he was getting the leading man roles in Hollywood.
What, was he? Because I don't know of any other movie. I can't think of another movie he was in other than They Live.
I don't believe any of them had great success.
Or he was probably like a smaller role or whatever.
Well, see, I think he was leading man roles in some action movies that, he was trying to get the career off the ground.
Okay.
Now,
They Live was 88.
88. So yeah, in 87 he left. I think they was going to film that movie. So, and then we talked before that, like Hulk Hogan was as Thunder Lips and Rocky. That was before. So there was there's some wrestlers were in movies before. The Freebirds were in Highlander. Of course, it was at a wrestling match.
The original Highlander?
The original Highlander, yeah.
Wow,
They open at the wrestling show.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not really acting. It's just they're at a wrestling event to start that movie.
That's kind of like an honorable mention. Like another honorable mention would be Ken Shamrock, The Rock, and the Hardy Boys on That 70s
show. Yeah, where they're playing wrestlers, but still,
The Rock was basically playing his dad. Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
And the Hardy Boys were just the two guys wrestling in the ring in the background. Yeah.
So yeah, They Live. I mean, we're just doing the straight on memory, but I'm thinking was probably the first one for a leading man role from wrestling.
Really?
And that's again just straight memory.
Did that predate like Hogan?
Yeah, Hogan No Holds Barred was 89, 90.
Okay.
And again, we mentioned he was Thunder Lips, so that was obviously it's just a cameo role playing a wrestler.
Yeah.
So
Suburban Commando, which I think was early 90s.
Yeah, that was after No Holds Barred. So what's interesting is you if you start with Roddy Piper and you say as a Hollywood executive, and you Stallone, Schwarzenegger, you got tons of action heroes available.
Yeah.
But to say like we're going to try to find a new one, and you go to the pro wrestling world, why do you think they would look at Piper? I mean, Piper is a great character. He has tons of charisma. So it's just kind of one of those interesting things. What would you think?
Well, why do you think they chose Piper?
They chose Piper, or maybe even went to pro wrestling in general.
I know. I might be wrong, but I think it's a John Carpenter movie.
Okay.
Which was I don't know how well known he was at the time, but he's well known now for like Halloween and like a lot of stuff. But I think
Halloween was probably before that. So
The Thing, maybe, too, or no, maybe no.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I might be. Like I said, I'm not. I don't know. I like John Carpenter, but I don't follow him a lot. But so maybe he was a wrestling fan, and he wrote it with him in mind.
Possibility to not be a big buff like action hero, but to be more of an everyman, kind of a smart ass character as Piper was.
Because even in wrestling, he wasn't really your giant Adonis,
not at all,
motherfucker. He was kind of your normal dude. Like he'd probably be like your neighbor's dad or some shit or something who's from Scotland.
and playing the villain, he was the guy that you just wanted to smack. Like he was good at it. So it was interesting with Piper taking on the lead role. So now you want to play the hypothetical game of who do you think would be a good Roddy Piper-esque.
Yes, if they made a remake of these movies.
Yeah, obviously you wouldn't want to play exactly the way Piper did. You want to put their own spin on it, but who would be good in that role now? You go ahead.
Well, when I originally pitched it to you, I said, for example, They Live with Roddy Piper, but in the remake, and I just threw one off the top of my head, I said Chris Jericho.
Right.
And I don't know how old Piper was in 88.
Oh, he was much younger than what Jericho is now.
Yeah, he was at least like late 20s or 30s, I would think. And so Jericho might be a little aged out on that one, but Jericho is like a decent actor. He's been in a few movies. And I think
Jericho can play up the campiness, like when it's got a little bit campy.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, Jericho's in on the joke too, and it's kind of fun. I mean, it's Fozzy as a band, which I guess they have evolved into more of a legitimate rock band, but still, like, kind of in on his own joke sort of deal.
Yeah.
You'd hope they'd play into that a little bit.
Walter, relax.
I tell you.
I don't know if Walter agrees with that. But I did have another interesting idea when I was writing all this shit down. I was like, nowadays, in 2021 America, they'd probably gender swap it. And who better than Ronda Rousey?
Oh yeah, as the whole Rowdy connection.
I mean, it makes perfect
and
sense.
She's believable as a badass.
Like if they went to WWE and was like, "Hey, we're remaking They Live. Who do you suggest?" And I'd be like, "Well, I could see that. Well, why not Ronda? You know what I mean? She's Rowdy Ronda Rousey."
That's a pretty good Vince impression. Well, you do have the Rowdy parallel, but when you think to kind of play off of the coolness of Piper had, I thought more Becky Lynch right away. Becky Lynch could be the badass, but then also, have those one-liners sort of ready.
How was she not my first choice? I immediately did the connection.
You did the Rowdy connection.
That's my movie lover in me going with it. But
now Ronda's dabbled in acting too. I know she was in one of the Expendables briefly, and I think she's done some other acting.
Yeah, Ronda's kind of. And I think like somebody like The Rock or something would be too obvious.
Sure. Well, I think if we're doing this, I think you eliminate, because I think we could talk about Rock and John Cena, accordingly now. But I think you eliminate those two from these conversations as the hypothetical remakes because you say sure because now they're leading man actors. Yeah. It's not quite as fun where you would think
they're not even and it wouldn't really count too because they're not really wrestlers. They're movie stars now, like him and like John Cena and shit.
A guy that I think would be great in that role, only because I know how big of a fan he is of comics and the horror genre and everything like that. Like CM Punk, I think would
actually CM Punk as another one I didn't think about. Yeah, and he's kind of a city kid too, and that whole movie took place in the city. If you don't know, that movie was about like consumerism and stuff. Like he put on these sunglasses and he could see the world for what it really was. So like if he looked at a billboard and it said like drink vodka or this vodka or whatever, when he put on the sunglasses, it would just say consume.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or drink. If you looked at a hot babe on a thing, it would just say sex, like that, just for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, because it's kind of an older movie. But so CM Punk would probably fit right into
that role. Yeah, pretty well. So what else you got next?
Classic one again. Like I said, he's not a main part, but Macho Man is Bonesaw McGraw in Spider-Man, which is a classic cameo. Doesn't get much better than that.
No, I think it's the best cameo. I mean, I really do. Like the one-liners he has while beating up Spider-Man were great.
Yeah.
I'm going to say almost out of tribute to the Macho Man, I wouldn't want if they shot that scene again for a Spider-Man remake, I wouldn't want it to be Bonesaw McGraw. I would want it to be.
You would want it to be a different character.
Different character because it's the Macho Man, and nobody's the Macho Man.
That's right. So like they'd have to make it a different wrestling character in there.
Same story as you want to tell. I mean, you can use any bruiser to be, like a Braun Strowman could just be the bruising type, but I wouldn't want it to be Bonesaw with the one-liners that the Macho Man
The only way I would be okay with them doing Bonesaw McGraw again is if they got Jay Lethal to do it as Macho Man. That would make it perfect.
Yeah.
That would, not perfect, but it would be like, okay, all right, I can't.
You would smile the whole time at it because you'd be like, I know what you're doing,
and it would be like a perfect tribute to Macho Man.
It would. I had heard that Macho he'd signed off on Jay Lethal doing the Black Machismo game.
Did he?
Yeah.
Hell yeah! All right. Well, then there's nothing wrong with that at all.
And
well, I think we just nailed it.
Kind of interesting because how serious the Macho Man took everything, but I don't think he looked at it as a negative parody. It was more of a tribute, and like, yes, they were having fun with it because the Macho Man was such a fun character.
Yeah.
So have fun with it.
It was an homage.
Yeah, and it was a well done homage.
For sure.
That's the thing.
Absolutely.
It wasn't. It was played for laughs, but they were intended to be laughs, and it wasn't played to embarrass or anything like that.
They were happy laughs.
Yeah.
They were nostalgic laughs.
Exactly.
Song
G, where he was, what was it? SoCal Val, where you got lust in your eyes, Song G, like they played it up the whole time.
I didn't see all of it, but I saw a good portion of that shit, dude. It was classic. Like he even had, I don't know who the chick was with him, but he even did the Miss Elizabeth shit.
It was the SoCal Val.
Oh, is that what it was?
SoCal Val, right. Which I don't know if they used her for much at all, but they just plugged her right into that role and just.
I just remember him. She would move around the ring. And he would get out of the ring, leave, take her back to the corner, and tell him to stay here, just like Macho Man would have. So
that's great stuff, man.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I think we nailed it there.
If they do it at all, it would be Jay Lethal. If not,
Yeah, just change it up, make it somebody different.
Rocky 3 is a good one that you have here.
Yeah.
Now, I think everybody would remember, of course, that role of Thunder Lips.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, that movie, like before that came out, Hulk wasn't in the WWF at that point. He had done some shots for like Vince Sr. in the early 80s, but he was kind of with Vern Gagne.
Yeah.
That movie putting him to, which he was going to be a star anyways. He was huge in the AWA. Like
was he Hulk Hogan at this point?
He was Hulk Hogan with AWA. But it wasn't like, this wasn't 1986 where he's already WWF champion, everybody knows him. It was before. So he wasn't even locked into WWF. Vince seeing that and seeing it's Rocky movies, there was nothing bigger at the time. And this guy with a featured role in it, that was like, I have to have him. And that was Hulkamania was.
I imagine that was a role that was written for Hulk Hogan.
I know that him and Stallone are good friends, and I don't know if it was they became friends during that movie or if they were friends before, but I know that they're currently good friends.
Rocky 2, that was Mr. T?
No,
Clubber Lang?
No, Rocky 3 was Clubber Lang as well. Thunder Lips was just early in the movie. They did
Hogan
the charity.
Was the lead up to Clubber.
Yeah, they did kind of like a charity fight. And Hulk called him the ultimate meatball and chucked him out to the crowd. And it was
ultimate meatball.
Yeah, and then
such a Hogan thing to say.
Yeah, so he was kind of just like and when it's not a cameo because he played, of course, Thunder Lips and not Hulk Hogan, but he was playing a prototypical pro wrestler in that movie.
Yeah.
So that really launched Hulk to stardom. Going back to what we were saying, so who could replace Hulk? And it would have to be. I mean, it's a big time role, even though it's just a featured spot.
I mean, it would have to be the way I would think about this one is it would have to be the current version of Hulk Hogan, which to me would probably be like John Cena. It's the closest thing because I mean, who do you have other than that? Roman Reigns, but they're portraying as a heel because at the end of that, at the Thunderlips battle, they still shook hands and took a picture for charity. Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to do that to Roman Reigns right now.
No.
So maybe Drew McIntyre.
And I just can't see Roman as that.
Right.
Drew McIntyre, I think, could do it.
Drew McIntyre.
He has a cool accent. He seems like a villain.
And, so he can beat the tar out of him, but then still, hey, play nice at the end.
Yeah.
You kind of put on that smile where you're like, all right, he's not such a bad guy.
I mean, Braun just looks scary. Yeah. Braun would be an obvious choice, I would think.
Yeah.
Strowman, if anybody, maybe somebody doesn't know who I'm talking about.
So yeah, you want it to be a big bruiser type. I figure the same role that he was as compared to Stallone,
and he looks believable. He looks like an athlete.
Yeah,
like you couldn't put Keith Lee in there. He doesn't look like he. I mean, Keith Lee is an athlete, but I mean he doesn't appear as an athlete.
Keith Lee, I think, would be good in other sorts of roles for his build and in the charisma that he has as a laid back charisma. When you think like like a bouncer type or a muscle Enforcer. That you don't want to fuck with. Yeah. But for this role, not so much.
No.
But yeah, that's such a key role. And if you want to maybe skip around a little bit, we just kind of talk about Hulk. And
because I got a couple Hulks on here.
And what his movies meant for pro wrestlers,
He pretty much started wrestlers having a movie career, I think, that I can think of.
I think especially as a lead man, because No Holds Barred. I know that came out in '89 because they had the match with Zeus at SummerSlam '89.
Yeah,
which is such a weird thing when you think about it.
Which I think that happened after the movie, right?
So yeah,
they did that because of the movie, and he played Zeus.
They filmed that.
I can't remember the guy's real name, but
Tiny Lister, Debo from Friday.
Yeah,
they filmed that in '88 because of WrestleMania 4, the Macho Man won the heavyweight title, and Hulk wasn't touring as a champion. He'd come back. He was in for like SummerSlam to team up with the Macho Man. They had the Mega Powers, but the WWF champion was out on tour the entire time. So
yeah,
he's got kind of out of those commitments. But Macho Man run with the belt, so that was his first kind of breakaway to go and film No Holds Barred, which was a WWF production. Vince and company actually produced that movie.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought maybe they just bought it later when.
No, they produced it. Now it might have been through like
so
New Line Cinema or something like that. But
way back then.
They put the movie together for Hulk.
Wow, I didn't realize. I didn't
what was he? Shep? Or no, that was Shep. He's Rip.
Rip in there. He was Shep Ramsey.
Yeah.
Suburban Commando.
So No Holds Barred.
Yeah, let's just run through and do all the Hogan roles, I guess.
No Holds Barred was they're going to have him playing a pro wrestler. And Zeus was, so I don't remember vaguely. They're feuding with like the network, I guess. The network guys wanted to get rid of.
I don't remember.
Hulk's Rip, try to kill him, and then they had Zeus come in to maybe actually kill him in the ring.
Yeah. So now I think about the thing I remember most about that movie is the like octagonal ring.
Yeah. I remember feeling more like a pit fighter sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, it was weird. It had a different vibe than wrestling.
But so the network, the company's screwing over their top star. It's kind of like a grittier Ready to Rumble. Think about it.
Yeah, which I have a fun fact about Ready to Rumble. That's one I didn't put on the list because there's too many fucking wrestlers.
We'll hit that one. So Hulk and No Holds Barred, again, they weren't reaching far yet because he still played a wrestler.
Yeah.
But it was slash action hero because there would be fight scenes.
It was a grittier, it was kind of like if Rocky was a pro wrestler.
And I wonder if that might have been part of the reason why it wasn't as successful because I don't know what it was rated off the top of my head. I'd guess PG-13. But it definitely was presented as a little grittier. I mean, again, you think late 80s WF, everything's big and colorful, and the Hulkster is red and yellow, and he's, Americana at that point. And now you got a little grittier role where you figure, I mean, me as a 5-year-old kid, if I did watch it, I probably didn't like it too much. You know what I mean? It wasn't really intended for kids. Movie. Yeah.
1989. Shit. Now it's just fucking up.
Never fails.
Oh, yeah. We can't go wrong at Will. I forget what we were looking for.
The rating, PG-13.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Okay, so I was kind of able to watch it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, even then, again, it's 89, it comes out. I'm 5 years old, so I would be allowed, but... I mean, some people probably wouldn't be allowed, but even if I was allowed, I wouldn't really like it. But you go to Suburban Commando. Now it's a movie that I remember more fondly as a small child.
Yeah,
because it was played up for laughs.
Well, I mean, I guess who would you cast in No Holds Barred then?
Oh,
see that's another one. It's kind of like the thing with Rocky. It's such an
interesting time. I mean, again, they're basically playing themselves, and in a role like that, again, you wouldn't want to compromise what you're building as a storyline. So you think, hey, Roman Reigns would be a good movie star? Cool. But in real life, you've also built him as this incredible villain right now.
Yeah. You have to do a big.
So you don't want to say like, well, come watch this, come see the movies. Like, no, you want
for this guy.
You want to say like, no, fuck that guy. I don't want to go watch him. I hate him.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, it's easy to put Cena in that role. He just seems like the prototypical babyface. I land on McIntyre again because I think, again, guy can talk pretty well.
Yeah,
big. He's 6'7", well built.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I can't think of anybody else who No Holds Barred, but right away, you know who I got for Suburban Commando?
Who?
I'd say do Big E.
Dude, that's pretty fucking great.
Because now you're playing up a little of the campiness, you're playing up the fun,
dude.
A little over exaggerated, like things,
Yeah, or R-Truth.
R-Truth needs to be in some way. Yeah,
R-Truth and They Live. Imagine that. But they'll go, what the hell?
Oh, R-Truth.
What's up with these glasses?
All right. I'm going back on that one. R-Truth and They Live, I think, would be the best. I would say that, a little bit of R-Truth can go a long way. So
R-Truth in all of these movies, I'd watch.
So, yeah, I was going to say, like, a little bit of him can go a long way. So I don't know if I want a whole movie of him. But no, and They Live, that would be perfect. That would, yeah, you nailed it with that one.
But yeah, Big E and Suburban Commando would be great, along with R-Truth. Like, if R-Truth was like his buddy in the movie, that'd be great. Even though I don't think that's how it works.
Suburban Commando, was he an alien?
I was just thinking that. I think he was either an alien or he's like from the future or space or something.
Yeah, that wrecked into Christopher Lloyd and his family's home.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd.
And the kids kind of tried to take him in, and I think he was fending off, some sort of attack. I really do want to watch it.
Their nanny.
No, that's Mr. Nanny.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I'll mix two movies together. Yeah.
Which I did not watch, but Suburban Commando, I remember fondly as a kid. I actually liked it, and I kind of pressed to go see it again.
No, it was like a cool little kid sci-fi movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Nanny was coming up next. If you want to hit any memories of Mr. Nanny, go ahead.
They basically did that again with like The Rock or Vin Diesel or something. The Pacifier?
That was Vin Diesel.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a wrestler.
Yeah, so Mr. Nanny, was he undercover of some sort to be a nanny, or is that...
Something, I can't remember. or he's like a criminal, or I can't remember what it was, but he applied to be a nanny for some reason.
I know the bloom was off the rose with Hulk after Mr. Nanny. And I think Mr. Nanny was probably the last movie he made while in the WWF.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That kind of sounds like a downward spiral.
And so then Hulk, as most people know, was in between WWF and WCW because he was acting. He was in Florida doing Thunder in Paradise, the television show.
Okay.
I know he had like Santa with Muscles, and he had a couple other like B movies or what have you.
Yeah.
But formed the Hollywood Hulk Hogan character, which gave him a whole new life on his career.
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild.
They gave him a whole second round.
So now you got to wonder, and we'll cover a couple of these. Everything in between the individual actors, but from 93 when Mr. Nanny basically is like on Hulk Hogan, you didn't see another big movie star until The Rock.
Yeah.
And you wonder if maybe Hulk Hogan and the lack of success might have scared off other studios.
I also think the wrestling biz kind of died there for a minute too in that early 90s.
That's a really good point. Yeah,
there were no real big stars
94
in wrestling
until 96, 97 when the Attitude Era hit.
Which is when you got The Rock.
The Rock built himself up.
So I think that was mostly because there was just no stars in wrestling really in general.
Right.
I mean, there were, but they weren't household names.
And when you think about how, with the exception of Hulk Hogan, who was obviously always a big star.
Yeah, but he was still like wrestling wasn't, so he wasn't really.
Right. But none of those guys had the time to really walk away from wrestling to film movies because Austin and The Rock, and I mean, they needed to be there wrestling as hot as it was for them to become who they would be and be a name that somebody would want.
Exactly.
All these stars were being established then. It wasn't, Ric Flair was already a huge star, but he wasn't in acting at that point.
Yeah.
Probably it wasn't for him. And he's a wrestler through and through.
Well, this is get a little off the subject, but have you watched any of that Young Rock?
Oh, I liked it a lot.
I like it a lot too. It's really good. And they like perfectly cast like everybody to play everyone.
Oh, it's so much. If again, you talk fun, so just seeing like Iron Sheik, like hanging out with The Rock.
Is spot on. Andre's spot on. Even the guy who plays Macho Man is good. He doesn't really look like him. He looks like Bradley Cooper playing Macho Man.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't really look the part that well, but he's
got a good accent. And he plays it.
Yeah, he plays it up really well.
But reason I brought that up is because you don't really see why The Rock went from his football career into wrestling. They haven't got to that point yet, and I'm always kind of wondered, like, did he only do it because maybe The Rock only went into wrestling because he couldn't have that football career, which is probably how it is.
There's a lot of guys that happens too.
Did he kind of? I'm sure he didn't plan on doing it, becoming a movie star or whatever, but like,
was wrestling just a springboard
for
Hollywood?
Like, once he caught on to his popularity, did he just kind of like, all right, I guess I'm going to leave wrestling eventually?
Well, as you mentioned before, that 70s show was before all of that,
Yeah,
before
movies.
And he was in a small role in that, but got really good reviews for it. So you wonder if maybe something then kind of hit the acting bug. It's hard to say, and it's all speculation, so it's hard to say if he got into the business in 96 and went, I only want to do this for 5 years before I become a huge movie star. He thought that. And
he was the second wrestler to become a movie star
as a top star. Yeah. So
he probably, it's not like he had only Hulk Hogan to like look at when it came to that.
We also don't know the guy, so maybe that was his intention, but I say it's probably unlikely. It's probably, hey, money, so. I want to make money in the wrestling business. He had a love of the wrestling business because of his dad. So, still want to be a big star. I'd take an educated guess and say that 70 show gig that they got to tie in wrestling with that episode.
And he's probably like,
probably maybe got him an itch, and maybe or some agents say, hey, you're really good at this, and
got some connections.
And then because he did the Mummy Returns, where it was just at the very end as the Scorpion King, and then the Scorpion King launched
Scorpion King, which is on the list.
Before we get to The Rock, let's have some fun with some of these other ones you got, because I like what we talked about with that
switch it up a little bit. Man on the Moon is a good one. There might be other appearances of wrestlers in there that I can't remember right now. I know. Oh no, that's a different movie. But I know Jerry Lawler plays himself in the movie, and this is kind of a weird one for the list because he's playing himself. But
he played himself to be part of the Andy Kaufman story.
Yeah, which has a very cool story behind. I don't know if you watched it.
I like the movie, and I like the I didn't remember Andy Kaufman as a kid. Like that, his story got told later.
I learned about him later,
and I didn't think his comedy was terribly funny. But
no, he was
original, and
he had a lot of shock value.
And the shock value provided to the wrestling with the wrestling business with Jerry Lawler is what we'll talk about. So I would say if you were to recast it again, which that movie was 95, 96 or so, Jim Carrey did an excellent job as Andy Kaufman.
He did. He was a dick on set though, from what I hear.
So I've heard that too.
Jerry Lawler hates him to this day, I guess.
So it is a kind of a fun thing to do, is to not only who would play Jerry Lawler, and then Jerry Lawler would probably still play fucking Jerry Lawler.
I mean, he could. He's aged a lot.
Yeah.
Back then, he looked like his younger self.
Yeah, he did his old crown beard and everything.
He was married to the cat and everything too back then.
So that kept him.
But now, and I've made a joke many times with you guys that I'm not going to make on here. But Jerry Lawler definitely looks his age at this point, and I don't think he could play himself again.
No, but I'm sure he'd want to. So
I think if his son was still alive, may he rest in peace, he probably could have played him.
Oh, that would have been awesome. That'd have been excellent.
But
so
Grandmaster Sexay.
Yeah. So we'll try to think of somebody to be Lawler, but then also who could play a good Andy Kaufman again, which Jim Carrey did a really good job of. So you're thinking Lawler. What's a shame is that southern obnoxious heel. The Tennessee accent, man, they're kind of gone. They're kind of gone by the wayside. MJF would definitely could play a great, heel.
Yeah.
But Lawler's character was actually a babyface on there. So
yeah, that's true.
But for still, MJF kind of came to mind immediately. Like I think play up the character like on the David Letterman show where they did.
Wow, no, this is a hard one, really. Because you're playing a specific person, you're not playing a character, so it's kind of. But I bet
you it would be a lot of fun for a wrestler that would be so that's what I'm trying to think.
Like somebody that actually knows him, and
that was a fan would actually enjoy the role of being Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of people really that look the part, not even that could play the part.
That's MJF came to mind a little bit at first.
He could a little bit, but he's not even a WWF guy. You know what I mean? Like that would be kind of strange. No, he's
not. But you know what? You can hit all.
But for the podcast sake,
it's all hypothetical anyway.
He's a good talker.
I'm trying to think.
Shit, MJF could play Kaufman.
MJF would probably be a good Kaufman. Yeah, he was. He's not as small, Like you want to be somebody kind of small and wimpy.
No, but you could have some movie magic going.
That's true. That's true.
This is a difficult one.
That is a difficult one because one was Lawler playing himself, and then Kaufman being such an iconic character. And I think that's maybe something you can land on where sometimes you just get the right guys at the right time because Lawler was Lawler, but Carey playing Kaufman, and you go. Maybe just leave that one alone.
Yeah.
Andy Kaufman has a story worth telling, but that movie came out, 10 years after Kaufman. Now we'd be sitting at over 30 years since Andy Kaufman passed, and it's a different story. So
yeah, I mean, how many times can you tell that story too? Like, I don't imagine they'll ever have another Andy Kaufman story movie out there.
And I doubt they'd be able to do it better because again, I thought it was actually really
good. It was pretty perfectly done.
Yeah. Before we jump into The Rock, I like what you got there for The Longest Yard.
Okay, cool. All right, that one. All right, we're going with The Longest Yard. This is a longer one. We'll start off here with Goldberg as Battle, one of the inmates.
Well, I just want to talk about The Longest Yard altogether.
Okay.
I liked it. I thought it was fun, man.
Yeah, great movie.
I thought it was fun.
Do people not like The Longest Yard?
I don't know if it got terribly high reviews on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb or anything, but it was played to be just fun.
Yeah,
it wasn't as funny as a normal Sandler movie.
Yeah, it's definitely not the best.
The Longest Yard was a cover or a remake of the Burt Reynolds movie, but casting all the wrestlers in those roles, I thought was really cool. And they had ex-NFL players in those roles as well.
Oh, they had my boy Joey Diaz was I can't remember his name on there, but he was like I think he was supposed to play an Italian dude or whatever.
I know they had Bill Romanowski, Michael Irvin from the Cowboys was the receiver for the Prisoners, and Nelly was in that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think they had a lot of fun casting the extra characters because Great Khali was in that movie. He was one of the prisoners too.
Before he was a wrestler.
And he was,
I didn't even put that together.
And he was
put it on a list.
Terribly entertaining in that.
You can't recast the Great Khali.
No, the Great Khali is going to be the Great Khali. So, but I think they just, let those guys have some fun with it. Like Steve Austin was one of the most unlikable guys in the movie. He was an asshole. He was a racist asshole. Yeah. Goldberg got to be Goldberg. I guess he could maybe cast like a Bobby Lashley or something like that if he wanted to, where you're the big musclehead inmate, go out there and smash guys.
Yeah.
Bob Sapp,
maybe like Keith Lee or or Big E.
Big E could be good. Yeah, because you get a little more charisma out of that role.
And Bob Sapp's character in that movie, Swatowski, which I wrote down, I might as well say it. He was real emotional.
Yeah.
And like cried a lot.
So
I could see Big E pulling
into that. I think he'd be fun with that. The tough one's going to be Kevin Nash. Because Kevin Nash is fantastic in that movie where he gets the estrogen pills.
I have no problem casting Kevin Nash for movie roles.
Kevin Nash is doing movies right now.
Me and Jeff Hughes were two of the few people that were just like, Kevin Nash for Cable and Deadpool. He was perfect. Why didn't you cast him?
With the gray hair. And
he was big. Instead, they chose a tiny little Josh Brolin, which he didn't do bad, but he's tiny. Cable's supposed to be huge.
Josh Brolin's a good actor.
But I don't know if you can recast Kevin Nash.
I'll tell you this. This is a good Kevin Nash movie story. So I was listening to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff, and Nash was on there.
Okay.
And as they sign off, say, hey, plug, what are you doing? So he plugged this movie called Dog that's coming up with things Channing Tatum. And he's like, it's one of the best scripts I've read. And I really enjoy it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's has some depth. And he's putting over like Dog. And then he goes, yeah. And then there's a couple B movies coming out this year that I don't give a shit about. That's exactly how he said
that he's in.
That he's in. So it's like Nash is cooler than being cool, man. Like,
no, I believe it. He seems cool. I mean, isn't he Big Daddy cool?
And he's still, if you've seen him on with Stone Cold's show, like he still looks great. He's up there in age, but still looks great.
He's got to be pushing 60 at this point.
I mean, so if you wanted, it has to be a big, muscular guy, but the way that he played that role once he got the estrogen pills and everything like that, like he was so good. Funny. So can you think of a big guy with that sort of range, that sort of comedic range to him? I'm having trouble.
I can't. Because most of the time when you're a big guy, Vince is just that he makes you like a big meathead guy.
I mean, if you think on the AEW side, you have like say Wardlow. Wardlow seems like a little bit of personality to him. Jake Hager, I wouldn't want that. I mean,
Jake Hager might pull it off though. I think he could pull off the comedic side. He'd be more believable to me comedically than like Wardlow.
I think he could be good in the role of for the first half of the movie being I'm this big badass, and then tap into kind of making an ass out of himself. I think could be a little entertaining. He's retired now, but boy, wouldn't JBL be awesome in that role?
Dude, JBL would have been the perfect choice.
I mean, there's no bigger prick than him. Which
is kind of the same era, so it's weird to say.
But then to tap into, again, just making an ass out of yourself in a comedy way.
Yeah.
I think JBL would be great.
I don't think we're going to get better than JBL casting for that. Steve Austin?
And in 2021, let's hope we just don't cast Steve Austin. I mean, you're meant to be. I know he's meant to be a racist, and it's meant to be a hateable character. But I don't think we need the cheap heat the way that we do nowadays. No,
but I mean, that's a common trope in prison movies is the racist prison guard.
It is, but also that movie does get played for laughs though as well. So it's I don't think
just for laughs then since she's the female Steve Austin, make Becky Lynch the racist guard. And that would be hilarious. Just her little British accent just fucking saying the most little
terrible,
accent,
terrible racist things.
I'd laugh my ass. It'd be terrible. It's that dark humor,
And she wouldn't be able to get a comeuppance then because eventually, if you're gonna
canceled for this,
if you're gonna do that, you'd have to get your ass laid out and mean it. And again, with a girl, like even then they might. So even if they had a badass girl, in the prison system that flattens her on the way for a touchdown, now you're still kind of playing it for laughs. And it's like, no, if you're a racist piece of shit, you really need to get your comeuppance. Not
Becky's too likable too.
Becky's too likable. No. So I'm gonna say
let's just stick with Steve Austin or some actor that's good at playing.
If there's a real movie, either a drama or anything like that, even when you talk about like Get Out, where it makes you really think about about racism and things like that, that it still has a place. But I don't know, racism played for ultimately laughs, which that was a.
Well, I think it was also like a comeuppance thing too.
Well, sure.
Steve Austin's character definitely got his in the end of that movie. Like, I think they fucked him up on the field or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I think that was more just like a little side plot between like two characters or whatever.
Right.
Because he picked on like Nelly, I think.
He picked on Nelly a lot, yeah.
So that was more Nelly's character arc, is getting one up on that motherfucker.
I do see you got Predator, and this is a big one too, because Jesse Ventura, I think, was one of the guys. Jesse Ventura is incredibly smart. He's out of his mind, but he's incredibly smart. Yeah. He was the one that's saying, like, take these rules and get your Screen Actors Guild card to get the insurance through the SAG.
He was also one of the biggest like wrestlers union.
Yeah, for the wrestlers union. Which from his place, man, like he's coming from a good place. It's we've given up our bodies to do this. And, and Jesse, I think, was done wrestling in the early 80s. I think he had a back injury that kind of put him out. Yeah. Now, him having such a big personality, he's able to transition into, commentary and do that really well.
Yeah. And he started doing movies, but he became a governor.
Right. But he had the best intentions in mind and saying, you can't get insurance through pro wrestling. Yeah. So if you get an acting gig, get it. 'Cause that SAG card get you medical insurance, and it's like, this is a big deal. So he was very influential in trying to get more wrestlers involved in things.
I believe that for sure. They definitely would have. Yeah, that's all around better.
You're gonna kill me, but I've never. Jeff Hughes is definitely going to kill me, but I've never seen Predator.
Right. Predator's great.
I know what it is. I know what it's about. How big of a role did Jesse have in that movie?
He was one of the crew. Do you know the basic plot of the movie?
The Predator is this alien that cloaks himself, and he's got the cool dreadlocks. They're in the jungle trying to.
It's like a
Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers,
it's a platoon of dudes. Yeah, like Carl Weathers recruits all his old buddies or something, like a crew to go hunt down this alien in the jungle.
Yeah,
and he's like one of the dudes.
Okay,
he has a special kind of gun. He's the one wearing the cool hat and has the mustache. Like. He's the certain guy in the crew.
So it is. So it's not a buddy comedy, but it's a group like casting. Arnold's the lead.
Action ensemble movie that slowly turns into, spoiler alert, because they all start dying off. Turns into just Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Predator.
So how many guys are in the platoon though to start? So is he one of?
I can't remember.
I want to say, is he one of like 15? But no. Okay. So
it's probably like 5 or 6.
So you can feature guys pretty well in that.
Yeah. Like they all. Like a sci-fi horror movie, everybody slowly dies over the course of the movie and shit.
Yeah.
But Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers obviously being the two main people. Well,
gotcha.
Chill, bro. I understand he didn't see the movie.
Getting a hard time from Walt too.
Yeah, he loves that movie.
Yeah. My thing about movies, man, if it happened before me, I'm going to be hard pressed to go back and watch.
When I was younger, I was like kind of like, fuck these old movies. I want to watch this new shit. But like nowadays,
I don't watch the new shit either. So in fairness,
for me, watching old shit, it's kind of like especially way older stuff like 80s and 70s stuff. Like, it's like a time capsule. It's like looking back in time.
No, that's cool. That's fun. Actually, I was listening to a podcast where now we're getting way sidebar, but that's what we do here, where they were talking about Clueless.
Yeah, this is going to be a whole episode, by the way.
we're getting there, yeah. So we're talking about Clueless, and it's a good podcast called P.S. I Hate This Movie. It's a comedian and his wife, I think they're both comedians, where they review romantic comedies and talk about how just fucking dumb they are.
Yeah.
So they're reviewing Clueless. And they have what they call the Heigl meter for Katherine Heigl. 1 Heigl meaning not that bad, and 10 Heigls meaning awful, Okay. So they get to the end of Clueless, and the guy who he's like, I got 2 ratings for it. Like, if you didn't grow up in the mid 90s, you're gonna give this thing like 2,000 Heigls because it's going to be so over the top with 90s references. But if you grew up in that era like I did, it's 0 because it's fun to go back and see all the references and that thing that came out in either 95 or 96. But
yeah, it was like
it's every single, I think they had like Snackwell cookies and shit. Like it's like it's everything that's popular in every era of culture where it's just crammed into this movie, and it is fun. It's a lot of fun.
No, for sure. It's kind of like a perfect little time capsule of the 90s, mid 90s era, like what was going on, how people dressed, how everything talked, looked.
So to bring it all back, when you talk about, let's go back to like Predator, and it's like, is the movie itself, you like it, but you also just kind of like the feeling of what the late 80s were, man. And it just brings you into it.
You look at it through, it's easy to look at through a different, like, spectrum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's cool.
You get the nostalgia, get the feels. I mean, I think
they don't make shit like that anymore.
No, well, and like for all of us now, I've always said I think like Home Alone should be like our generation's Christmas movie.
Yeah, no,
Christmas Story isn't our generation's, man. It was on TBS. It's still on TBS all day, every day.
Yeah.
But it kind of sucks.
Like Home Alone and Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
Our two Christmas movies of our generation.
I think it's time that we segued them in. Miracle on 34th Street didn't mean shit to us growing up. That's just, was an old movie.
They made a remake in the 90s.
I remember that, yeah.
That I did watch. So that kind of does.
Or what's the other one? It's a Wonderful Life. That's the other one that's always on.
Yeah. But I don't know if they remade that or not.
I don't think they did, but that... It's like
but that's
known
like
as
my dad's Christmas.
Exactly. And now at this point, what did we grow up? What as my kids? What is Dad's Christmas movie? Well, it's Home Alone. Because it's
another one is Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
The first one's pretty good.
Yeah.
After that,
second one's not bad either because I liked the chick that played Mrs. Claus. I was like, she was on Lost. She played Juliet on Lost, so I always loved her.
All right, I'm trying to think if there's any way we can link a pro wrestling thing to the Santa Claus and Tim Allen.
Oh fuck, there's probably a wrestler in there playing somebody.
just try to bring it back to the central theme, but no, it would just.
Goldberg played Santa Claus in like a kids movie.
I thought he played Santa Claus in like a horror movie.
It might have been a horror movie.
I think it is. Santa Slay. Slay. Yeah.
Something like that.
Boy, the shit you remember. Yeah. I've never seen it.
Well, it popped up in all this.
I don't want to watch Goldberg matches. I don't want to watch Goldberg movies either.
No.
So I'm not sure she didn't watch it, but I do remember hearing about it.
Yeah, Santa Slays. That's ridiculous.
So, all right. So,
but Jesse Ventura in Predator, who would you say? When I wrote this down, I thought Braun Strowman would be a good. Like, he's not really a good representation of Jesse Ventura, but I could just see him in that hat, all pissed off with his beard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Perhaps I'd like to try to think though, somebody with a little more personality, a little more humor. Because I didn't see it, but Jesse Ventura was cracking one-liners, and if he's playing Jesse Ventura,
he was a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, he was.
He was basically playing his Navy SEAL.
He was. So if you're trying to think of somebody with a little more character, maybe, and that could add a little more humor,
yeah,
it's a difficult one as well. It seems like WWE keeps cutting everybody. I try to think of who the top stars are. That might be a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. So you said he dies though?
Yeah.
So Cody Rhodes. Get him in there.
Yeah, Cody Rhodes.
Get him in there early.
I don't know if he's the first one to die. He might be.
If I was remaking the movie, he would be.
Jeff could tell us. Jeff knows exactly who should be recast as
If I'm remaking the movie, then I got Cody Rhodes in there and he dies quickly and brutally. And I will go, I'd love this movie. This is great.
Maybe Jericho. He's charismatic.
Jericho
he's a little smaller,
bad.
But he's a thick dude. Jesse Ventura wasn't exactly huge.
No, it's meant to. Well, I mean, he was in great shape, but so if you look like a wrestler, if you look like he's you're a big guy, and you want to be a wisecrack.
Just imagine fucking Scott Steiner in there. Playing that.
I want Scott Steiner in all of these roles. Yeah, that would be amazing.
The shit talk he could do.
He would take over the movie script. It'd be all just Scott Steiner doing what Scott Steiner wants to do, and all of us would just have to deal with that.
He'd be reciting Steiner math the whole time.
I'm going to tell you, and I've watched a little bit of SmackDown lately. You know who actually has a little more range than I ever gave him credit for? Baron Corbin.
No.
I would take Baron Corbin in this Jesse Ventura role.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that because I hated Baron Corbin. It was that love to hate sort of thing. Like I know why I hated him.
Yeah.
Like if I knew him in reality, he's probably a great dude.
Yeah.
But he was just so annoying. And they always pushed him in positions that I was just like, why is Baron Corbin here? Right
you didn't want him, but he was going to be there.
With this pity me bullshit and
he has been great.
He's killing it.
He has been great. He's killed it.
I'm on board. Whatever you're doing, dude, keep doing it.
It stinks is so far I haven't seen any roles on here that I would like to get, but I think Sami Zayn and the character that he's playing right now could definitely fit into a lot of, like a shithead heel, like boss, like the guy that once I get to him, I want to kick his ass, but I got to go through so many levels to get there. Like I think Sami Zayn would be great in that role.
Like the little shithead con man, or like little shithead gang leader.
Yep. Yeah. I think he would fit it. Yeah, I was hoping to try to find him in one of these.
All right. Let's get We've done quite a few. There's a few I don't want to pass over though, so let's go ahead and get this one out of the way. Terry Funk as Morgan in Roadhouse.
I'll say Kevin Owens because because you say you're a bar brawler, you're kind of an asshole. But hey, maybe he's not so bad. No, he's an asshole.
No, Kevin Owens
I think
is pretty good.
Kevin Owens is a bar brawler, and again, you could have your lead as Swayze. Because Terry Funk wasn't built like a jacked up dude anyway. He's wasn't small.
No, he was just like a country boy can beat. Cancer bod, beat your ass sort of deal. So
now the other one I think would be obvious. Probably looks a little more like Terry Funk. You're talking country boy at the bar. You know what I'm thinking?
Who?
I think I'd be like a Hangman Page sort of role.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually, I don't know. Obviously, other than Jericho and Cody Rhodes, like IEW just doesn't pop in my head right now. Probably because I don't watch it that much anymore. But I will start late. Like it's coming up quick because people are about to start showing up.
People are gonna start showing up. All Out will be something that we'll probably want to cover. Yeah. So I'll try to pick it up with you when we get there. But no, actually, right away, I see Kevin Owens in that role. I think
that's pretty damn good. I'm trying to think of somebody else that I would possibly throw in.
It's hard to touch Terry Funk. Terry Funk's awesome.
Maybe like he's not really a country boy or whatever, but and he might be in reality. But maybe Bobby Roode. Bobby
Roode kind of looks a little more,
he fits the part.
If he has beard out, I'd like it probably more with like the longer hair. Yeah,
a little bit. I don't know. I've never seen him with longer hair, but
pretty good role for him.
Looks the part, I think. Really.
Yeah. No, that's not a bad one.
And he's kind of a shithead heel guy. Arrogant.
The only thing about him is he looks more like he's a better looking guy, the guy at the bar that you want to fight because he's the good looking guy at the bar getting the girls. Whereas Terry Funk is the guy who would bust a pool cue over your head and smack you around with your beer.
You need kind of I mean, he could still be a good looking dude, but at least a grittier looking dude,
which I think he could pull off. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I don't dislike that one at all.
No, Kevin Owens might be the fucking.
She's on one today.
Yeah, it's got to be that time of the year where they get a little crazy because she's not like.
Yeah, we might have to edit this one in post or not. Just keep it in and us flipping out on it.
They probably can't even hear it, honestly. Or by the time I equalize everything out, it
won't be so bad.
Or they're hearing it loud and clear right now, and we're completely unaware of it.
Yeah.
I think Kevin Owens might be the perfect casting for that, sir. I can't think of it, but maybe Sami Zayn if he took it a little more seriously. Because he's kind of a shithead.
Again, playing a shithead.
He's not exactly small either.
No, and he looks kind of dirty and gritty at the bar. I could see that too. Yeah. You want to touch on any of those individuals? You want to kind of move on to talking about our big stars where we got like Rock and Cena and where we're at now?
I mean, we pretty much covered all the good ones. That's really not about. I mean, I got some fun facts and shit, but. What do you mean by covering Rock and Cena?
Well, we talk about Hogan was the first one to be the leading man, and it took a while for The Rock to kind of get into that role. And now it's not. I mean, I think if you asked my son, who's 11, he's about to be 12, who's like the top 5 like actors like out there, I think The Rock will come up as one. Like
I'm one of the first ones. The Rock is the highest paid actor in the world.
And we talk about for every generation who knows who he is and knows what movie he's making.
Everybody around the world knows who The Rock is.
Yeah, I mean it's mega stardom, and
he's arguably the biggest star in the world, I think.
Which is really impressive when you think about your big stars. I mean, your movies now. Your movie stars in general, your Tom Hankses and your Tom Cruises and your, the ones that we grew up on, even like Denzel Washington, who's awesome.
Yeah.
You think about, they're not guys that look like The Rock. Because if you're The Rock and you're 6'5" and you're 250, 60 pounds jacked up, like you're an action star.
Actually, that's a really good point. Like there was, for a good time period from like the late 90s to like 2000, like 15, a lot of your action stars were scrawnier little dudes like Tom Cruise, Orlando Bloom, Johnny Depp, fucking, and even Stallone got back before canceled or anything or getting in trouble for saying stuff was a thing. or just voicing your opinion, got heat, I guess, for saying that like all the action stars look like little scrawny dudes anymore. There's no big action stars like him or Stallone or anybody.
Right.
And then give it like what 5 years went by and The Rock was starring in
right
and everything.
And that's Tom Hanks, I don't think has ever been an action star, but your Tom Cruises are. But they look more like everyman. Denzel Washington definitely has some action roles, but he also kind of looks like an everyman. So you're like, he can play these roles in other roles, and Denzel can play anywhere from Training Day to
But you could buy Denzel as like a lawyer,
right?
Too, or
you can play his other roles where you wouldn't think The Rock would be able to do it. Like when Schwarzenegger did it, they played it for laughs, like Kindergarten Cop. But it's but you wouldn't think The Rock would be able to do it because he looks like a jacked up pro wrestler.
Yeah.
But he has. And I think it's a testament to his talent and his range as an actor.
Absolutely.
I think he has a genuine likability, which helps.
Yeah, for sure.
Unless he's playing a villain in his movies, which I can't think of any. Maybe in the Fast and the Furious movies as the cop, you're kind of portrayed as a villain.
I mean, he was kind of in the first movie he appeared in that, but by the end of the movie, they were teaming up, and then he was part of their crew and the rest.
Okay,
Spoiler alert, anyway. I actually just recently watched all those movies like a couple years ago.
They're all the same, but they're not bad. They're pretty fun, man.
They're fun. They're not great movies. They're not good movies at all, but they're fun movies. Yeah. They're enjoyable.
Yeah, so it's interesting that he's been able to show that sort of range. He's still likable. He's almost always your protagonist. But
Judge Dredd. Or no, Doom. Doom, he was the bad guy.
Oh, he was the bad guy in Doom?
The Rock was...
I would have safely assumed...
corrupt, like, evil or dude in Judge...
Oh, yeah? In Doom.
Doom, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I can't think of... I don't know of anything else.
The Rock says that Doom isn't very good.
No, Doom wasn't very good. Actually, but Judge... I don't know. I can't remember if he was in Judge Dredd or not.
The Judge Dredd remake, of course.
Yeah, with Carl Urban. That was underrated. That movie was better than most people gave it fucking credit.
I didn't know Carl Urban was even in that. I just know him from The Boys. Which,
yeah. Well, they were just recently talking about that they need to give Carl Urban another shot at Judge Dredd.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't remember Judge Dredd really being that bad. It just didn't do well.
Well, The Rock, we touched on it earlier. They broke him through with the Scorpion King. They basically made that role for him. They wrote their own prequel to the Mummy franchise, which was very successful.
And from what I remember, the Scorpion King was surprisingly a decent movie.
I mean, the Mummies were pretty good movies too, but you had kind of Brendan Fraser as, I've seen the first two, as more of a nerdy character, kind of surviving.
Yeah.
So they played off the Scorpion King differently as him being a more action star, but the cinematics, everything was good. I mean, it was an enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
And that led him into The Rundown with Sean William Scott and Christopher Walken.
Which was actually a really good,
pretty entertaining movie.
The action in that movie was fantastic.
Yeah,
like perfectly done.
Yeah, and so now
Walking Tall, shit like that.
I know he was in the remake of Walking Tall, and I had heard it wasn't great, and I had never seen it.
And Rundown definitely outshined Walking Tall.
Okay, but even then, we're talking early 2000s, and The Rock just never stopped, man. He did some of the kids' movies with the fairy. Is that the Tooth Fairy or something like that, or something like that? The Tooth Fairy. And then like
the game plan.
The game plan with his daughter. Yeah, they did Gridiron Gang where he was coaching the football team.
Yeah, I don't think I saw that, but
before doing just some of these more action roles. I know I like the Jumanji remake. I didn't see the second one yet.
No right being as good as they were. I haven't seen the second one either, but that first one I was just like,
it was terribly entertaining, man.
Yeah, I did not expect to like it as much as I did.
And between him, Kevin Hart, Jack Black playing off of each other, it was all really well done.
And
with the kids,
Carey Mulligan or whatever her name is, looks pretty good.
Oh, she didn't look bad at all.
The chick from Guardians of the Galaxy. I think I called her the wrong name, but
okay, yeah. Of course, with the kids' personalities being into these characters, and it's an interesting concept, and they did a great job of it.
And I like the dynamic between the young girl and who was a Jonas brother in the game world, but turned out to be Colin Hanks in the other. Like, I liked that whole story with them. Like, it was sweet and innocent.
Yeah.
And, like, it was just nice.
That was a really good movie, and The Rock was good in it. So, The Rock is The Rock. He's one of the top movie stars in the world now, and I got to tell you,
well deserved at this point.
I don't think Cena's far behind.
No, dude. I just saw. I won't give any spoilers, but I watched The Suicide Squad yesterday. Hated the first one with Jared Leto and.
I heard that was a
David
pretty
Ayer
big
directed.
flaw. Yeah, like
it was just bad.
Yeah, just wasn't a good
Will
movie.
Smith was just Will Smith. Like, they took a really cool DC character who wore a mask, and that was what he was known for, and took it off most of the movie and just showed you Will Smith. Like,
Just
that is
being Will
always
Smith,
a bad choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just didn't like it. It was bad. They ruined the Joker, really. Didn't like Jared. I don't like Jared Leto, really, in general, but even ruining the Joker just made it worse.
Well,
But
talk a little bit about the movie and the
one.
characters. This is all you.
the new Suicide Squad was really good. New director, half the cast is different. I don't want to spoil anything because even the opening scene, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, don't give any major plot points away, but I mean, at least, and especially talk about Cena and his role.
John Cena kills it. This might be the best thing he's been in.
And what character is he?
He plays the Peacemaker.
Okay.
Peacemaker.
Okay.
He's the funniest, probably one of the, if not the funniest dude in the movie, one of them. Him and Idris Elba bounce back off each other so well.
I love Idris Elba.
He kills it. He kills it. And this movie's just full of jokes. Not every one of them land, but like you get 3 jokes, 2 out of 3 jokes land, and once that last one doesn't land, there's 3 more to make up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the movie, it's the best, probably the best DC movie they've made yet. Aside, I will say though that the Snyder cut of Justice League was 1,000 times better than the original cut.
Okay.
Like, it's a genuinely enjoyable 4-hour long movie.
That's a long movie.
It is a long movie, but it adds so much. It makes it so much better.
Okay.
But yeah, that is probably the best role John Cena's ever played. My favorite.
And I think Cena, and it might not be his actual first role, but the first role that really got him noticed was, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's the one with Amy Schumer and Bill Hader. Trainwreck, okay. Yeah. Where he plays one of her boyfriends and always has the gay innuendo. And again, you say it, you're like, I want to fuck you in the ass. But like the way that John Cena delivered it and everything, it was fucking great. Him and LeBron James stole that movie. They were both funny in that movie.
John Cena did it in that movie. I remember that.
But yeah, always making the different gay innuendo as, John Cena, this big macho, good looking dude. And you see like the comedic chops and knowing that John Cena in the WWE, it is writers. I mean, I'm sure he gets to have some free range with it, but at the same time, it was still BPG hero to children. And be as funny as you can within those parameters. Have at it, John. Yeah. And he would still be fair, entertaining for what he did. So you take all those filters off, you get to see John Cena in an R-rated, like, dude, this guy's hilarious. And I think that's starting to shine through for him.
For sure, because the Suicide Squad was R-rated. The original one was PG-13. This one was rated R, and it was rated R. There was fucks all over it. You see tits. There's sex. There's a sex scene. Harley Quinn has a sex scene. Spoiler alert. But that's probably the worst spoiler I'll have for you right now.
Well, so as a rated R movie, now again, John Cena has just now returned, for this program with Roman Reigns, but he's been really out of the WWE eye for quite a while. So you wonder if that's kind of given him like, I'm going to be in whatever movies I'm going to be in. I don't need to portray myself as squeaky clean John Cena. Like, no. It becomes more John Cena, the actor.
And as an actor, I mean, you're allowed to be a heel sometimes. You know what I mean? You're playing a role and everybody's aware of that.
Or just being in a movie with a sex scene. Like John Cena on top of WWE in 2007, 2008, it was like, I want to do this gritty comic book movie with lots of fucks and sex scenes. And they'd be like, well, no, we can't send the kids to see you in this. Yeah. So there'd either be a conflict of interest there. And if he doesn't have that, he gets those filters off.
No, you're right. He's been doing a lot of that lately too. Actually, because he was even in a movie called I think they just called it Blockers.
Cock Blockers, where he played
that was hilarious.
It was hilarious where he played the overprotective dad.
And that was like what, Tina Fey and
what did she write
Tina Fey or Amy Poehler, one of them, or maybe they were both in it.
I thought it was Leslie Mann. Might have been the mom character. Yeah. And it was Ike Barinholtz from Mad TV.
I felt like it was a movie that had a cast that was known for improvisation.
Yeah.
So I felt like he probably got to really stretch his wings in that role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just let his personality.
And they let the other guy play like the blowhard, and he was the very conservative
that dude
dad.
From the League.
Yeah, he was the body.
TV.
Yeah, Mad TV, Ike Barinholtz. Ike Barinholtz.
He's good in almost everything he's in.
He's And he played that blowhard asshole really well. And that was a fun movie. So
I forget all about that.
Yeah, and what's interesting was as you pitched this show idea, I think it was either that day or the day before, Josh sent a text saying, watch the new Suicide Squad movie, John Cena greater than The Rock. Like
he killed it in that movie, dude. I'm telling you. Like the only version of John Cena I really enjoy is actor John Cena.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've never really liked his wrestling persona and stuff like that.
What do you think?
But man, he is killing it.
Now listen,
in that movie.
Me and my wrestling hat just has such an appreciation for John Cena. Like, I mean, the longevity that he had and all the big matches that were built around him has that appreciation. But do you think him being in the Suicide Squad, having an edge to his character, or not even an edge, but just like, man, he seems like he's a great actor, he's a really fun dude. Do you think that helps with our demographic? Like, hey, when Cena's back on TV, like, fuck yeah, John Cena, I want to see it.
Yeah. Because I mean, I respect his work ethic and his quality of work in the ring. I always hated the rapper John Cena guy when he first came in.
Sure.
He put a bad taste in my mouth.
I liked it, but I could understand how one wouldn't. Yeah.
Him having that his acting career definitely upped his stock with me for sure.
Yeah.
Like it gave me something to like about him. You know what I mean?
So like there you go. So
I'm
it did.
Not like fuck John Cena all the time. It's more like okay, John Cena.
And when you think about him and Goldberg coming back at basically the same time, I couldn't give a shit that Goldberg's back. It doesn't mean anything to me.
I definitely care more about John Cena.
I definitely care more about John Cena coming back. And
I don't give two shits about. I never did. I was always a Stone Cold guy too.
I never was
era.
either.
And I never gave a shit about Goldberg.
No, doesn't do anything for me at all. Whereas, yeah, John Cena, I think, I mean, you go back and you appreciate his run. And man, and I know like Evan, like just couldn't stand John Cena and was happy when he would be gone. We've all lost a lot of interest since John Cena's been gone. We all have.
Yeah. He does get ratings.
You're interested in to see what's going to happen to him. Like when he made Kevin Owens in those matches. You know what I mean? Like he had helped make AJ Styles in their matches, and it's like so you're bringing all of these guys that are like, oh, hey, our indie guys, we love these guys, and they're in there with John fucking Cena. You're like, is John Cena going to squash my guys, or my guys actually going to beat John Cena? And more times than not, they actually beat John Cena.
No, that's a really good point. I never thought about the fact that John Cena is definitely not a great worker, and not in the sense of his quality of matches, but like he's giving.
Yeah.
He's willing to take one for the team or for you.
He makes people care about.
Yeah.
And
he cares about the business.
And I won't get too far off because we've already been talking quite a bit, and we cover our movies, but that's what makes a great worker to me, and especially today when, man, everybody's so fucking good in the ring. Everybody can do so many crazy spots. I'm more excited for Roman Reigns versus John Cena than I have been for any other match because it's characters that make me care. I want to see who wins and loses.
Yeah. But and the reason I want to see who wins and loses is because of the genuine heat between the two. There's a lot of Twitter beef between these two guys, and I mean, one of my favorite things that John Cena has done in the last couple years is when he called out Roman when he was just like, it's called a promo, kid. You're going to have to learn to do it if you want to be the big dog. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. I'm super, super excited about it, and I think that's a credit to John Cena.
Before we get off John Cena, though, I have a fun fact about
Hit me with a fun fact. You got a whole page.
John Cena played a gym rat in Ready to Rumble.
That makes sense, and I don't know that off the top of my head, but John Cena was training in UPW, which is based in LA. It was Rick Bassman, who also trained Sting and the Ultimate Warrior, so Muscleheads, the Venice Year at the beach. And that's where Cena was found because he was bodybuilding.
He was a Venice.
And they found him and said, you might be good at wrestling. And he was a lifelong wrestling fan. So he was probably, he got cast as an extra.
But the crazy part is that was essentially a WCW movie.
It was definitely a WCW movie.
But it was all WCW.
Oh, it was all them. I don't know if they weren't a developmental like how OVW or FCW NXT is. They weren't exactly developmental, but I know that they definitely utilized Rick Bassman's promotion to get some prospects coming up. But he was still probably free to operate and say, hey, yeah, I got some muscle dudes that can be in the background of your movie, you know.
And he's probably broke or something. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be a
that is interesting. You got any other fun facts you want to go through?
I do. One of the coolest ones that I found out is George the Animal Steel was in Tim Burton's Ed Wood along Johnny Depp.
I only knew that
he played a real person. He played the Swedish wrestler and actor Tor Johnson.
Okay. I knew that because I used to get the WWF magazine. Okay. And they had pictures of George Animal Steel, and it was in black and white. And
it was either Raw or WWF magazine.
Yeah, it was WWF magazine at that point. I've never seen Ed Wood. I mean, I know who he is.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. It's one of those movies
making Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Fell asleep or watched and got distracted or something. But yeah,
so that is
he did a good job. Apparently, Tim Burton was always a big fan of him.
Oh, there you go.
That's why he cast him in the movie.
There you go.
Paul Heyman is in the movie version of the Broadway play Tony and Tina's Wedding.
I've no idea.
Seen it, but I found that little bit of information.
Heyman Heyman just being Heyman is such a good character. When you would talk about the shyster dad or something that's, stands in the way of his daughter falling in love, that could be Paul Heyman.
Absolutely.
Paul Heyman could be Cher's dad in Clueless.
Paul Heyman could have been, what's his nuts? Lou Albano in the Stacey Lopper video.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Like the
dad just not having the shit. Yeah.
And wearing a wife beater and his fucking tighty whities or something.
Yeah.
Not to get off Paul Heyman, but you might have saw this because this was just a few years ago. But Paul Heyman officiated Rory Culkin's wedding, who's an actor
in real life,
and the brother from Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin, I guess, surprised him with him as his officiant for his wedding.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I guess they're both huge fans of wrestling.
Is that our alarm telling us we're going long?
No, that's my alarm. That's my alarm I have go off every day in case I have to fall asleep and take a nap or something, just so I don't sleep all fucking day.
That's an interesting concept. Yeah. It was Rory. Now there's Rory and there's Kieran Culkin. Now, which one was in Fargo as the brother who got killed? In season 2, I think.
Oh, the show?
The show.
That's probably Rory.
Okay.
I can't remember.
He does look like him.
Fuck, what was it? I can't remember if this is him or not. He's the younger one. He's got long hair. He's been
yeah. So he was the one in Fargo.
But yeah, he's a big fan. There's a few Culkin brothers.
Yeah, there's Kieran and then Macaulay.
There was Macaulay. And then there's another one that was just younger than him. That was
he was the cousin in Home Alone that peed the bed. Yeah.
And then this one I think is an even younger one.
Okay, one was in Waco, the Waco movie, the series that was on Hulu. That was him. He's a good actor.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I like him in a lot of stuff.
That is interesting.
He was in something I saw recently that I cannot remember. Tyler Mane, do you remember him?
Yeah, and he was. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I didn't remember him until I saw what he played. He played the original Sabretooth in X-Men.
Yeah.
He was also Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie Halloween movie.
I actually remember hearing that, yeah.
And he played Ajax and Troy.
I've never seen Troy, and Josh gives me shit for it all the time.
Troy's a genuinely good movie.
I don't like Orlando Bloom.
I don't mind. I don't like him in everything, but I don't mind Orlando Bloom. Jeep Swenson?
I know Jeep Swenson. Yeah, he was only briefly in pro wrestling, but yeah, he's huge muscle, and yeah, he
played Bane in Batman and Robin.
Yes, I did know that one.
I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. DDP was in Devil's Rejects.
I remember that. He was. DDP was one of the kind of the goons to go track him down. He was one of the sheriffs, like Muscle.
Okay. RVD is in a movie called Black Mass 2, which I imagine is a very B horror movie.
I'm sure. Yeah.
He's in it.
He's probably getting high and doing spin kicks. That's
what he likes to do. Some weird shit on him, but yeah. And last but not least, this is definitely my favorite one. I never knew this, and I saw this movie a bunch of times. It might be well-known knowledge, but it's new to me, and I find it fascinating. But The 40-Year-Old Virgin. You've seen that movie. You know when Steve Carell is on the speed dating. It's the speed dating scene, and he's just going through a bunch of...
That's Mrs. DDP there, yeah.
The chick whose titty pops out that's all bouncy is Kimberly Page.
Kimberly Page,
I never put that together, and I've seen that movie like...
She didn't quite look the same as she did only a few years prior on TV, older. But she still looked good, obviously, and the whole point was for her tit to pop out while...
They were bouncing. She was perfect casting, for sure.
Yes, yeah, I did know that, and that's awesome.
But that is it. That is all of my fun facts. I started to write down another one. I can't remember what it was. Oh, it was me talking. It's when I remembered Terry Funk. I was going to make it a big... Terry Funk was in Roadhouse, but then when I remembered how big of a role it was...
No, it was a big role, yeah.
I needed to add it to
Gotcha. Well, we've covered an hour and a half. You didn't think we could get a full episode out of this?
I'm shocked that it was... Well, because I thought it was just going to be me talking the whole time, but you contributed a whole lot more.
That's what I do, pal. That's what I do.
I was just going to kind of roll through them. But all right, I guess we got enough content for 2 episodes. But since we're going so long, I'll just go ahead and wrap it. Unless there's something else you want to throw out.
We're good, man. We did our housekeeping at the beginning, and we talked about Bobby Eaton, and now we got plenty more to talk about on the flip side.
All right. Well, with that said, I'll do my best in an outro. Thanks for watching Ohio Wrestlecast number 24. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Again, t-shirts and shit are still available. I even designed a new one not long ago and sent it to you, but it says "Buy Internet" on the front of it, and then the Ohio Wrestlecast logo on the back for Jerrod. And yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time.
And show your cats some love so they don't meow through the whole time. And other than that, till next time, tell them, Lenore. Bye, Internet.